give the floor to Commissioner Sefcovic to address the trade part of the measures with regard to EU-Israel relation. Commissioner Sefcovic.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, HR VP already presented the broader context for this decision in her initial opening remarks, where she was reading out the discussion around this topic in the college. And she provided the broader context for this decision. So I can now turn to the proposal at hand, the suspension of core trade-related provisions of the Euro-Mediterranean Agreement in relation to Israel. This proposal is grounded in Articles 2 and 79 of the Agreement, which establishes the respect for human rights and democratic principles as essential elements for our partnership. The proposed suspension targets tariff preferences granted to Israel, encompassing free movement of goods, right of establishment and supply of services, public procurement, competition and intellectual property. In practice, this means that imports from Israel to the EU will lose their preferential access to the EU market, and that these goods will be charged duties at the level applied to any other third countries with whom the EU has no free trade agreement. We regret having to take this step. However, we believe it is both appropriate and proportionate given the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Gaza. The Council will decide on this measure by qualified majority, while the European Parliament will be duly informed. Now turning to the trade relationship between EU and Israel. Total trade in goods in 2024 amounted to 42.6 billion euros. The EU remains Israel's #1 trading partner. In 2024, the EU accounted for the 32% of Israel's total trade in goods. In light of these figures and the principles at stake, the proposed partial suspension is a carefully considered response to an increasingly urgent situation. Let me reiterate that since the atrocities of October 7, the world has witnessed unimaginable suffering. The European Union immediately condemned in strongest terms Hamas' indiscriminate attacks across Israel and expressed solidarity with Israel's right to defend itself. Sanctions against Hamas swiftly followed. The President of the Commission, together with the President of the European Parliament, been among the first political representative to be there on the ground. And they share the impression, the shock and horror they have seen in this kibbutzim in Israel. And therefore, we believe that now is the time that we must work together to end also the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. This means unrestrained access for humanitarian aid, the immediate release of all hostages held by Hamas, and an urgent ceasefire to stop the bloodshed. Ultimately, Israel needs real security, and the Palestinian people need real dignity. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sefcovic, and Commissioner Suica to present the other element of the package of measures. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to everybody. As Maros already said, the situation in Gaza and in the West Bank is unacceptable. As Commission, we continue to advocate for a two-state solution, one based on a secure Israel and a viable Palestinian Authority. So we are doing it with words, but also with targeted actions. Today, we are putting bilateral support to the Israeli government on hold, talking about bilateral support. This is an important signal and the continuation of our policy of advocating for peace. In particular, 14 million euro of already allocated funds in the period from 2020 to 2024, and out of this amount, 4.3 million euro have been contracted, while 9.4 million remain uncontracted. Until further notice, we will not proceed with the joint identification of new actions on the signatures of the contracts. This is a decision the Commission can make independently on the basis of exceptional events, like in this case, and can be revoked if conditions on the ground change. As announced, what we are not putting on hold, which is very important, is 20 million euro allocated for measures to fight anti-Semitism and foster Jewish life by supporting Yad Vashem. Likewise, 10.2 million euro for civil society will remain untouched. The European Union's support to peace-building initiatives via Israeli and Palestinian civil society will also continue, with an average allocation of 5 million euro per year. Concrete actions again. To do our part in sustaining the two-state solution and making it possible, we continue supporting the Palestinian Authority and their reform process. We will provide, as already announced, 1.6 billion over the next 2 years under our multi-annual comprehensive support program to the Palestinian Authority. This is important as they are facing an increasingly precarious financial situation. The program already made a difference on the ground. For example, salaries to teachers at Palestinian schools could be paid at least partially last week, coinciding with the start of the school year. Yet, as you know, our funding is not sufficient. The European Union is the biggest donor and supporter toward the reformed and efficient Palestinian Authority. In this moment of great need, we are enhancing our engagement with the Palestinians. As our President von der Leyen announced, we will establish a Palestinian or Palestine donor group with the first meeting still this year. Our aim is twofold: support Palestinian institutions financially via donations of like-minded international donors, Arab states, international and regional organizations, and international financing institutions. Then serve as a forum for the Palestinian Authority to present the reforms implementation, ensuring transparency. They also need to ensure transparency, and engage on the future of Gaza and coordinate international recovery and reconstruction efforts once the conditions allow. In terms of governance, the Palestinian Ministry of Planning and International Coordination and the Commission would co-chair this group. We have opened the path for Gulf countries to join us in this effort in a prominent way. This platform will catalyse efforts of regional and international partners, and this is the moment to invite others to join us and pledge their support as well.
Thank you very much, also to Commissioner Suica. And we can open the floor to your questions now. Mark, please.
Good afternoon, Mark Peperkorn, Volkskrant. It's a question, I think, for Commissioner Sefcovic. I mean, the total export of Israel to the EU last year was about 16 billion euros. The effect of now, let's say, the new tariff agreement, or the stopping of the preferential tariffs, has an effect, we were told, of about 227 million a year. So it's relatively modest. So my question is, why do you think this modest proposal would change the behavior of Israel in Gaza? Thanks.
Your numbers are correct, but I think that here we are talking not only about the trade and not only about the numbers. I would say the whole context of decision was very political, So I think the HRVP would be in better positions to comment on this. But you also heard the President of the European Commission be very clear on this particular element when she was addressing the peoples of Europe, European Parliament members in the State of the Union, and of course, based on that announcement and political commitment, we've been acting very quickly to present the proposal. I think there was strong expectations that European Union have to use the tools at its disposal to address the humanitarian crisis in the Gaza, to make sure that not only we provide the humanitarian aid, but the humanitarian aid actually will be delivered to Gaza, to the people who would need it. But I believe that two of my colleagues are better positions to further elaborate on this question.
Would you like to come in? Not necessarily. No, we move on. Yes, please.
Hi, it's Nacho. I'm from the Spanish newspaper El Confidencial. I would like to know, especially from the High Representative, why now exactly? Why not a year ago or a couple of months ago? A year ago, there were already 40,000 deaths in Gaza. So why specifically in this moment the situation is such that these measures are needed, and not why a year ago? Thank you.
Thank you. We all heard the speech of the President of the Commission, where she proposed these points, and I think this shows how the situation has really changed. We see the E1 settlements. We see also the action now in Gaza City, all these things that bring more suffering to the people. So this is why today is that because a week ago we had the State of the Union speech where President von der Leyen proposed these things. Thank you.
Yes, Mattia.
Yes, hi, Mattia Bagnoli, ANSA, the National Intelligence News Agency. Hi, Rep. Now, naturally, the question is, will the member states approve the question that you put forward, the issue that you put forward, the proposal that you put forward? And there are two tracks here, because the sanctions against the ministers and settlers and all of that requires unanimity, and those on trade, QMV. Now, you, as a chair of the FAC, can you tell us a bit what is the atmosphere in the room? Do you have confidence that at some point these proposals will be adopted, either in QMV or in unanimity? And if not, what does that tell us a bit about the state of affairs of the EU? Thank you.
Thank you. So, yes, you're correct that the sanctions require unanimity and trade proposal, the QMB. You know very well how is the situation in the Council. Although we see that the public opinion in member states is really shifting, because the suffering in Gaza, and people really want to see the stopping of this suffering. On political level, I think we will have the discussions after these proposals are made, but I think the political lines are very much in the place where they have been so far.
Yes, Rafaela, please.
Rafaela Scheidreiter for the Austrian broadcaster ORF. If I may, a question on measures against Israel on a different level, but High Representative, as you mentioned, like the public opinion, right now we see also how political entertainment and culture are becoming when it comes to Israel, in particular when we talk about also the Eurovision Song Contest taking place next year in Vienna, and seeing member states like the Netherlands, Spain or Ireland threatening to not participate in case Israel will participate. So as the EU's most senior diplomat, I'd be interested in what are your thoughts on this? Thank you.
Thank you. What I want to stress, and what we stress all the time, is that we are proposing these measures not to punish Israel or Israel people, but to really try to pressure Israeli government to change course and to end the human suffering in Gaza. So that's why, the proposals that we have made are not really touching or somehow affecting the people so much as to put the pressure on Israeli government to change course. So all these steps that go to the direction of punishing Israeli people, I think, are wrong, and we are not proposing them. Thank you.
Philippe?
Philippe Jacquet, Le Monde. I have another question which is not related to the EU-Israel agreement, association agreement. It's the ban of the products from the settlements. And I'm still wondering why the EU is not moving on this particular subject.
If it comes to the products from Israeli settlements, I think that this is the question which I'm sure that you know very well. They've been in any way under the association agreement trade parts, which we are suspending right now because we never recognized that especially the settlements would constitute the part of the state of Israel. And that they should be covered by also the measures which we are now taking under the association agreement. So, if it comes to banning of any imports of the good, again, it can be done through the sanction proposal. And that's something to be discussed in the future. I think that today we've been focusing on the trade parts of the association agreement, and I think that's quite important step also from the political perspective we are adopting today.
We'll take the two final questions. I have one question online from Gabriele Rosana.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Thanks for taking my question. Gabriele Rosana, Messaggero, Italy. It's a question on something that, if I'm not wrong, is not in the package, because several former ambassadors to the EU have recently called for additional trade-related measures, including export control measures and the suspension of all arms and dual-use exports to Israel. So what is the reasoning, if I may ask, Commissioner Sefcovic, behind the exclusion of such measures from today's package? Thank you.
I think that if it comes to the military-to-military cooperation and military exports, that's more in the domain of HRVP, but I understand that this comes into the exclusive domain of the prerogative of the member states, and it's covered by the different regimes. Therefore, I mean, we've been acting in the area where we have, in this case, exclusive authority, trade parts of the association agreement, where we can make the proposals, where you need the QMV from the Council to endorse it and approve it, and where you need to duly inform European Parliament about the proceedings. But of course, the military and dual use, that's a different category, so I don't know if HRVP would like to address this question.
Yes, Anything to add there?
No, I mean, of course, you can always ask why don't we propose other things. These are the things we are proposing right now, and that is the discussion. Yes, in June I presented an options paper where all the options are listed, what are the tools in our hands, but these are the choices that the Commission made right now. Thank you.
And we take a final question here. The lady.
Thank you very much. It's Rosie Burchard here for DW. So first of all, for Commissioner Sefcovic, could you give us a few words on how you think this will impact European businesses and consumers? You've talked a lot in the past about how tariffs are a tax on consumers. For Commissioner Suica, I think the measure that's within your portfolio is the only one that might not be caught up in institutional deadlock among member states. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but it can be done just by the Commission. So in the past, we've heard the Israeli government levelling criticism that any such punitive measures are essentially empowering Hamas. Can you respond to that criticism or a claim from the Israeli government? And then for High Representative, presumably in the past, part of the calculation for not putting such measures on the table is the risk that they get caught up in the member states. That risk remains. You've addressed it a bit already, but have you basically just changed your calculation in seeing that it's better to look like you have something on the table in the works than the risk of looking like you have a total inaction until now? We know that we might be here in several months' time and that none of these measures have moved forward.
Thank you very much. So I can start with the numbers. So preliminary estimates based on current trading volumes indicate that suspending preferential access would expose EU exports up to 574 million euros in duties. On the other hand, the EU imports from Israel would be exposed to the tariff duties up to 227 million euros. Around 63% of the EU imports from Israel take place on most favoured nation terms, and 58% of trade with Israel benefits from zero MFN tariffs and hence cannot benefit from any preferential regime. So less than 37% of EU imports from Israel are imported under this preferential regime, which is affected by this decision. If you ask me which sectors would be the most exposed, so from the EU side, this would include machinery, aircraft-related goods, medical devices, and pharmaceutical products. And as you know very well from all our discussions, we are not friends of tariffs. I much more prefer to come in front of you to tell you that we created new market access. We have a new free trade agreement. We are opening new trade chapters with our partners. So therefore, today measure is of different kind and was necessitated by a clear commitment our President presented in the State of the Union address the last week as a reaction to the dramatic, urgent humanitarian disaster taking place in Gaza.
Yes, Commissioner Suica.
Thank you very much for asking this question. So, as I already said, we are putting today bilateral support to Israeli government on hold, and this is something which we can what we can do independently, and it is exclusive right of the Commission. I want to reiterate something. This is very targeted, and we want to be crystal clear, and we want to make distinction between Israeli government and the Israeli people, Israeli citizens. And this is what we have been doing. Any money, any funding which is related to anti-Semitism, any money which is related to civil society organizations is not put on hold. This is very important to understand and to differentiate this. So we are trying to put pressure, as you see, because we stand with or by Jewish citizens also here in Europe who also suffer a lot. So this is exactly why I'm mentioning anti-Semitism. So what we want, I want to reiterate that all of us agree on several issues. Two-state solution is the only alternative for us. There is no other alternative, so there is consensus on this. Also on humanitarian aid, also on ceasefire as soon as possible, also on right of Israel to defend and to exist, also on release of all hostages. This is something where we have consensus here in Europe. So I hope that we will find solution in the near future, but this is a situation at the moment, as we speak, is very dire in the Gaza city, as you know.
Yes, thank you. First, I object to the statement that was in your question that we have been inactive. That's not true. We have been the most active actors on the international sphere on this file, trying to improve the humanitarian situation on the ground. Really, day in and day out, working with what more can we do. Yes, the proposals now on the table to put more pressure on Israeli government derive from the State of the Union speech. And yes, it's true that the College has not proposed, but now it's up to the Member States to discuss in the Council, which is problematic as we know of the lines. But what it shows, really, it shows that the public opinion in all the Member States has really shifted, and when we have the discussions, all the Member States or representatives, foreign ministers agree that the situation is untenable. So if we all agree on this, then the question is, what do we do about this? What are the tools in our hands? And that's why we have proposed from our Commission to go with these proposals. If these do not fly, then we can find other things if we all agree that we need to do additional steps in order to have really change on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the three members of College present with us here today. Thank you for your participation and questions, and to the interpreters. We wish you a good afternoon.